Hello, VIPs, DFS Army. It is Choppadong. I want to bring you a VIP edition of Chop Talk today, solely for the purposes of showing you where we're going with this and one metric in the NBA DS. Again, always consult the coaches. I put way more weight on what they tell me than what I would tell you guys. This is just opinion and research and just something that I happen to typically narrow down quickly when I get my teeth into something. And again, it's opinion, but I know what goes into the N1 metric. It's a catch-all stat that weighs all sorts of matchups into consideration and puts different weights and measures on them. And it's been pretty good so far the past week or so. And it's a good way for you guys to maybe lean on something while you're learning the rest of the league and learning the coaches and learning what to do. So I'm going to show you today really quickly how I sort through N1, and then I'm going to plug them into the Domination Station and show you what I mean and kind of how I work the thing so that you can figure out where you want to go or where you want to take things. I don't look at a lot of these other numbers yet. I know that the and1 metric's already taken those into consideration. So when I open up the research station, sort by descending, very, very simple. And I'm looking for, overall scores. Anything over a 10 is pretty good. Ben and those guys will tell you over 8, so even down to the 7's not terrible. Nerlens Noel at 3,600. If he gets run tonight, he's pretty good. He's in a good spot, I should say. The matchup shows that he's in a pretty good position. So what am I looking for? This 23 versus a 20. I'm looking for gaps. This is just like pricing tiers. Damian Lillard is in a phenomenal matchup tonight. Very, very strong matchup. Stronger than Anthony Davis, stronger than Embiid. Now, you may consider those guys better players. That's up to you. But I'm not just locking Lillard in to my lineups either. But these top three for sure, because there's another 3-point gap here down to Russ, Westbrook. So, and then it starts to clog up a little bit. But these top 5 or 6 are definitely going to be in my player pool, period, end of story, no questions asked. Probably all the way down here to the 15. All of these guys will probably be in my player pool no matter what I do. So I might even write them down. Lillard, Davis, Embiid, Russ, Jokic, Buddy, Jellica, PG-13, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now I'm going to go into, since I've already got it sorted, descending, I'm going to go into the point guards. And I'm going to write down the top 3 to 5 guys. They're going to be in my player pool. Shooting guards, top 3 to 5 guys, they're in my player pool. Small forward, they're in my player pool. See what I mean? Every single position that I'm going to go through and start doing that. Then I'm going to come back out here to the main. I'm going to just be writing down a ton of lists. And I'm going to write down this type of stuff, and then I'm going to start looking for punts. And one thing that I'm going to start doing is when I go to the number filters, under 6,000 is pretty punt priced on FanDuel. So I'm going to write down the top, say, 10 or 15 guys. Once I get down to this level here, I might slow down. But these guys are going to be in my player pool, And then I might go down under 4,000 and see if there aren't any super punts on the slate tonight. And I'm going to see if any of them have, well, there's a strong one in Noel again. We already spotted him on the first page, So, and then some of these guys are going to be in my player pool. I'm going to write them down. One of the things that I'll do when I clear this off is I'm also going to search for positional scarcity or position depth. I'm going to look at the point guard position. I'm going to see how many guys are over a 10. I don't even round up. So 10 is a hard number for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, not a very deep position tonight. We're going to maybe need to pay up. And, Lillard and Westbrook will be definitely in the cards tonight. When I look at shooting guard, down 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So not very deep there tonight either. Might be paying up if we need to. Not that with Jellica here you need to pay up too much. Well, I guess he shifted off already. But now I'm looking at a deeper position here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 small forwards tonight. So nothing is too deep tonight. So far, we're pretty evenly spread across the board. And there's a very shallow position. It's AD or bust. 1. It makes me a little bit nervous. I believe he's on a back-to-back tonight. I believe, obviously, he's coming off of an injury. So I believe that that's going to temper maybe our expectations. And I think that we need to definitely watch or listen to the coaches on an issue like this, but on a night where we don't have any questions or any kind of news about Anthony Davis, this might be a really auto lock type situation, given that nothing else in this position is going to really compete with him, unless we want to just punt them both, and drop down into here. Both of Aminu and Lyles would be in play. These are all decisions you're going to have to make on your own a little bit. Embiid, Jokic, and Cauley Stein are the three here. So shallow position. So shallow position here, we're going to be probably paying up. If we don't pay for Cauley Stein, we're going to have to go up to Embiid or Jokic. And then we're going to probably have to pay for Anthony Davis. And then we're going to be using our value picks in some of the other categories because those are the deeper positions. If we can, we would look for the under 4,000s to really get it going. Now, if I had the time here, I'm going to pause this video actually. I'm going to write some of these names down and then I'll come back in 10 seconds and we'll pick it up from here, okay? All right, guys, we're back. You can see I'm wrapping up some of the super punts here with the under 4K category. Now I'm going to dive into the research or the Domination Station with FanDuel NBA main slate, and I'm going to scroll down here. And the first thing I'm going to do is go into my point guards, and I'm going to uncheck the boxes. And now what I'm going to do is click the guys that are in my player pool. Simmons made it, Lillard, Kemba, Fox, Jamal Murray. Oh, I know, shocker, right? It's all the top guys. Other than when we keep scrolling down here a little bit, sometimes we'll find guys that did make our player pool in some of these other categories. Okay, so now I'll just go, position by position. Jerry Heil, did Gary Harris make the list? Yes, he did. Middleton did not make the list tonight. And you can notice his value number is a little bit lower anyway. He probably wasn't going to get pulled in by Domination Station anyway. McCollum, Bazemore, Hood, Brogdon, Lamb, Reddick made the list. Schroeder made the list. Sweet Lou made the list. Clarkson, Monk, Smart, Frank Mason made the list. Shooting guard, interesting position for him. Avery Bradley made the list as a super punt, and we'll probably see some of Avery Bradley tonight with the 5.18. Stauskas made the list. Diallo Horrors, just okay. So now we've got some super punts on that list, and really and truly, shooting guard is a relatively volatile position anyway, typically. So it's one of the positions that a lot of people tend to punt. I think that we're all pretty familiar with that. Even if you don't follow NBA, you'll pick up on that one pretty quickly. Mirotic, Jellica, Prince didn't make the list. Batum didn't make the list. Covington, Gallinari did. Osman, Hayward, Bembry made the list. I don't know if Evan Turner made the list. Oh, he did. Decker, Etuan made it. Kid Gilchrist made it. I mean, this is the boring work that you got to do. Justin Jackson made it. This is just the boring work that you got to do to set it up right so that you've got your player pool down. So, of course, AD made it. Tobias made it. Millsap made it. Jason Tatum's interesting, but he didn't make the list. Nance didn't make the list. Harold made the list. Aminu made the list. Grant, Morris, Collins made the list. Lyles made the list. And I really don't need to know a ton, honestly, about the NBA at this point. I'm really just sort of starting my own knowledge base from scratch. I'm looking at the guys that typically make the lists. It's always going to be a lot of the same names. Believe it or not, Randall didn't make the list. Nurkic, Horford, Dedmon made the list. Lopez, Zeller, Kofos, whatever, made the list. Plumlee, Noel, of course, made the list. Surprised his projections aren't there yet. Boban made the list because he's popping on every list, and even the top 10 overall at a $3,600 punt. It's almost not a bad thing just to lock him in if you really trust the And1 rating system. Now, what I'm going to do with this list is run my list. Now, what I typically do beforehand when I'm not making a video is I'm going to go through by default, run the optimal, run about 3 uniques, run 5 to 10 lineups, and I'm just going to run and see what Domination Station likes. Now, I can already tell you what they like. One of the things you can do is sort by fantasy points per dollar. Bring the high value guys up towards the top. It's going to like Brooke Lopez, Alex Lynn. They didn't make my list, though, so this is where it gets interesting. Is it the projections or is it the And1? I've been going by the And1, and it's been fine. Willie Cauley-Stein, Embiid will make the list, of course. Those are just my centers. Wondered why that looked awfully thin. Now we've got some more fives. There's always some fives on the slate, maybe even some higher ones. Sarek didn't make the list. Lopez didn't make the list. So we'll be interested to see if these guys go off tonight in spite of what we've picked up on. I will come back later tonight, look for the ownership, and I want to make sure that if I'm in cash elements like 50-50s, even triple ups and things, that I've got some pretty chalky dudes in my lineup. And if somebody like Sarek ends up being some 60-something% projected ownership, like last night with Tyus Jones, and yeah, I know that burned people, but like that last night, like with Okobo, whatever, I'm going to take those guys and I'm going to go ahead and put them in my player pool because I love a chalk foundation. And that way, if the guys do well, great. If they do poorly, it doesn't hurt me because everybody else has them too. And then I can use some of my other picks to get off this because you'll notice that some of these are going to be lower owned. When I've done that, let's see, how many players are in my pool? All players 199. It's not my players 42. So there's a 42 player pool on a 6-game slate. Um, optimal mode, you can play it in tournament mode. You can do whatever you want to do. I'll go ahead and click it, optimize, and I'll kick out these. And of course, this stuff changes. This is why you got to pay attention to your coaches. And I'll show you one more trick before we wrap it up. But Lillard, Shai, Schroeder, Lou, Giannis, Etuan, Aminu, Lyles, Embiid. There's one lineup for you. It's got a couple studs in it, a couple of scrubs in it. Scheduled to score 287. May or may not work out that way, but 287, 287, 287, 287, 287. Another thing that I do is I'll come down here. I will set up max exposures to say, 70%, 80%, whatever. Okay. If I see an Anthony Davis in there and I'm worried about him, let's say that I'm worried about him tonight. I might actually cap him at 40% of my lineups. Okay? And then with the 75% total exposure, 40% on a couple of players I might be worried about, maybe 100% if I want to go all in on somebody, whatever. I click optimize again. See what that shifts out as far as lineups for me. It doesn't have any Anthony Davis in it tonight, it doesn't look like. So that's pretty interesting. Embiid, Cauley-Stein, they're both on my list. Of course, my player pool is already set. And again, 287s all the way down to like 275. And I'll typically take 2 or 3 of these lineups and look at the mix. Lillard, Shai, Lillard, Shai, Lillard, Shai. So I probably won't pick one of these two here. I'll always take this top one. I'll probably look down here. Oh, Simmons, Walker. Sexy. Another Simmons, Walker. So I'll probably take one of these two lineups just to get off of these. Or I might goose projections. When it comes to goosing projections, what would I do? Well, let's say all of our coaches, I'm reading my coaches, reading my articles, whatever, and Dennis Schroeder's getting touted by a lot of them, and I trust my coaches. I'll bump him some. See how he just jumped to the top of the list? And then oh, they liked Lou. So, whatever. Sometimes I'll play around, and he's on both my 6K list and he's on my power forward list. So bang, he gets a bump for each list he's on. I'll just play little games like that, and try and get some of the guys that are in the better matchups, the best of the best, and I'll goose their projections a little bit, and then I'll optimize those. Now I'll come down here and I'll start seeing, Lou and Schroeder, Aminu, some of the dudes that I was goosing their projections with will start popping in the lineup. Now, the difference is the lineups will change fantasy points of 294 because I goosed the projections over a straight up projection total of 287. So what it's doing is it's going, and sometimes it's the same, 279, 279. Sometimes it gooses it quite a bit, or the fantasy points vary from the DFS Army points quite a bit. These are just little things that you can play with. This is not a one size fits all game. This is not something where we're all just clicking buttons and moving on. We can give formats, we can give kind of rough guidelines and whatever else, but there's always going to be some personal inflection in there. There's always going to be something that makes your lineup unique, and that's a good thing. And I know that when you're new, you're struggling. Oh, what coach do I listen to? Well, listen to a couple of them. Add a little couple of points to a player that you see. Oh, Bear said this guy, so give him a couple of points. Oh, Keg said this guy, so I'll give him a heart or whatever. And just kind of play with it a little bit and see what works out. You're using the coaches to kind of guide you on accentuating certain players that the general consensus of the coaching staff believes is a good play tonight, And then you're letting Domination Station fill in the rest, or you're letting your own and one rating system, sort of fill in the rest. Those are the ideas. These are the things that we do. We kind of play with them back and forth, back and forth. I can't make your player pool for you. You can't make mine for me. And I can't win for you and you can't win for me. Because if I shuffled these off and went back to 100% on all these guys, guess what? My lineups are going to be different. There's 294, 292, 292. Again, the 287s are still pretty commonplace. But this top one probably doesn't change, but these will start to switch around a little bit. So pick a few of them and play them. Run some mini ladders. Run some $5 shots at a, $3 and 50/50s, $1 and a 10-man, $1 and a 100-man, or, $3, $2 and a 50/50, $1 and a GPP, or $2 triple up entry and $1 GPP, whatever the hell it is that you want to do. It's all fairly safe when you're using these types of parameters, these types of things. But you want to play with some base, some kind of a cash base, and you want to play with some kind of upside, because when your projections hit, they hit really well. I put in, I think, $25 the other night, and ended up coming out with 80, 90, $100. It was a 4x return on the night. So that stuff does happen. Welcome to the Army. Hopefully this helps point you in the right direction, and we'll be around for questioning. But again, put more weight on the coaches than you do mine. This is just a rough way to get you started with a basic system that you can start to lean on and then start tweaking from there. All right, guys, I'll talk to you tonight. Have a good one.